Whatever happened to NFTs solving the whole digital rights usage problem? I mean, I remember when NFTs first came out, at least the concept came out, and I thought that this was going to be the first step in like actually solving how people monetize digital content. The key problem with any kind of content is obviously tracking who has the rights to what, like who wrote what, whose sample is in what song, what musician played on what song, who owns a song, who gets paid what, licensing, royalties, all that stuff. I mean, the dream I thought of NFTs was the beginning of adding digital content to the blockchain so that all these problems would get solved. But it turns out basically it just ended up being like a way for a few people to become millionaires by like trading ape GIFs or images of some punk rock unicorn or whatever. Granted, it had its space and it had its sort of popularity and there was some value in it, but like what happened to that? Because the biggest issue now with AI is the fact that a few LLMs ended up scrolling the entire of creative culture over, anything documented over the last few thousand years has been collected in these LLMs, and they're just being munged out and spit out into this useless content that there's no value to it. You know what I mean? It's like if there's anything that I respect the least, it's like people who create an AI song and upload it to a streaming platform, a pure AI song, upload it to a streaming platform, and then try to monetize it by getting that 0.1% of a royalty, especially some kind of content that obviously sounds like somebody else. That's up there with like the people that go into museums and deface public artworks and then glue themselves to the wall in their own like selfish attempt at protest. I put it up there in that level of disrespect for thousands of years of creative people who have created music. I mean, you can argue that like everybody is influenced by things from the past. Everybody kind of sounds like somebody else from the past, which I get. But at some point, we have the technology now, at least in concept, to be able to solve these problems, And I think that, there's so much content being spit out by AI these days that, it boggles my mind. And the fact that, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I see somebody and even a friend like post an AI song they created or an AI video that they created, it's kind of like, it's like, it's like a private joke. It's like, for me, completely generative AI content is the purest form of masturbation. You know what I mean? It's the purest form of just like, you are the only person that really enjoys that piece of content. Nobody else does. Like everybody else can look at it for a second and be like, oh, that sounds interesting or that's visually stimulating. But for the most part, the second you know it's AI, you're just like, I mean, for me, it just nauseates me. It nauseates me. AI as a tool is wonderful. AI as a way to collect information, to research, to ideate, to upload some of your own music that isn't finished so you can get ideas on where to take it. Upload a song because you need a horn section to go along with your funky 70s song you made that you need to add to it. These sort of additional aspects to help augment existing creation, I think is wonderful. I think it's very helpful, very useful. But the fact that somebody can just go out there and disrespectfully create a song that sounds like somebody else and upload it and piss in the pool of an already like almost impossible creative industry of people who are like trying anything they can to get the last little, the Nirvana song, penny royalty, you know what I mean? It's just like literally like the last micro fractional cent that you can earn by uploading content and trying to get paid for it is gone. And I really thought that NFT technology, connecting digital content to the blockchain would have solved that. I mean, I don't know the technical implementation of it, I mean, I understand it in concept, but I'm not a developer. I don't know how complicated it is to create something but my thought was when NFTs came out, I was like, that technology is going to get baked into Photoshop. It's going to get baked into the digital audio workstations. It's going to get baked into the cameras. It's going to get baked into Word and, all these content creation tools so that anytime somebody puts a piece of work out, it is tracked to them as ownership and they will be compensated for it. I thought there would be some huge database like an ASCAP or a BMI or some sort of organizational database where everybody could sign up and have their account and a catalog of all the digital content that they created. And obviously it's a massive nightmarish piece of spaghetti that would happen with that. But the idea of it was so brilliant. And not only the idea, but the fact of the economy that it would create would be so massive that we literally wouldn't have the job crisis right now. We literally wouldn't have this problem where creatives are getting replaced with AI. We wouldn't have all these problems because every piece of content you create, whether it was AI or not, would be tracked down to the original owner of whatever created it. What musician recorded on what sample got created on what. Every piece of pixel, every piece of ones and zeros that got created by somebody would be tracked on the blockchain and they would be compensated for the usage. That was the idea. That was the brilliant aspect of NFTs, and I think that got lost. And I just have to ask myself, what happened to that? How did we get to this point? And how do we get back to that? How do we get to the point where this issue with AI, which is already taking everybody's value, everybody's creativity, smashing it together and spitting out useless information that nobody wants, nobody respects, nobody wants to pay for? What happened there? You know what I mean? To me, it's on par to the greatest RAPE of creative culture in history. And maybe I'm being extremist here, but as a creator, as somebody who creates music, creates digital content, writes, for me to even think about uploading it to some platform just so it could get chewed up and spit out into somebody else's content that is completely worthless, why bother? I'm not going to stop being creative, but it's from a monetization aspect, why bother? And what happened to NFTs? And maybe somebody out there who has more understanding of this concept, more technical understanding, more strategic understanding, maybe people who had their hands in that for the first place, but literally what happened? How did we go from the thought of everybody having a massive economy of being compensated for every piece of content that they created throughout history, because there's a blockchain connected straight line to whoever created that in a database, of all the stuff and all the technologies that are being created right now, how did that get missed? And maybe I'm ranting here a little bit, but the thought occurred to me just today when I'm thinking back on, some of the discussions I've been having with people about AI and the monetization aspect of creative content. I feel like that could be solved. And I feel like if we get this right soon, then the AI issue will not be such a problem anymore. AI will be thought of as a tool, and AI will be thought of as a way to contribute to a massive economy of creators, as opposed to literally just getting everything stolen, literally having everybody's creative career being replaced by people putting out junk and people stealing junk and people having no respect for anybody that created anything throughout history because they're just using AI or the few people who run these LLMs. It just boggles my mind that this problem can't be solved. And I guess I'm really interested in connecting with people who are trying to solve this. I don't want every crypto jerk to come out here and spam me, but people are actually discussing this actual problem because I think this is technically one of the biggest topics that could potentially save the entire middle-class creative economy that is literally crumbling right now because of AI and a bunch of other issues. I don't know if you've tried to look for a job these days in the creative work, but it's almost impossible. I don't know if you've tried to monetize any kind of creative content these days, but it's nearly impossible. It's getting harder and harder and harder. Unless you go out and do a performance and do a song and dance and your blood and sweat and tears is up on a stage, it's getting harder and harder and harder to monetize your creativity. It's almost impossible. But this could solve that. And that was my hope. And I hope that this hasn't been lost on some people. And I hope there are some very smart people trying to solve this. And I hope that they have the vision. And I hope enough people in high levels have the vision to think that this actually could solve something and could create such a potential economy from AI that it actually becomes valuable again. Because for me, it's almost invaluable anymore other than to use it for an augmented tool. But just purely AI content being spit out, God, it's awful. It's nauseating. So anyway, that's my thoughts. That's my rant for the day. I'm curious to hear what everybody else has to say. But let's solve this problem and let's do it soon before it's all over for everybody. I'm Sean Early. If you like these thoughts and opinions, these rants, these crazy ideas, whatever, please do me a favor and subscribe and like and share, and it really helps my channel grow. So I will talk to you soon. Bye.